Hi guys, it's Allie from Just a Primary Girl, and today I am going to be talking all about my magnetic letterboards and my sight word puzzler and how you can use it in your classroom and how you can make it fit into your classroom center time. I'm doing something a little bit difficult, so I'm recording in two different spots, so if you see my eyes bouncing back and forth, that's why. I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you. So I'm going to get started right away. In my classroom, I do 2 rounds of centers. They run approximately 20 minutes each. Depending on the group, sometimes it's 25 minutes each. And I need my students to be working independently, completely independently, especially at the beginning of the year. So I start very quickly from the first week of school, introducing those routines and those procedures so that I can ensure that they are working at their best independent level. And so I take a lot of time in those procedures, and I take a lot of time in making the exact same format the same exact format for all of my games and all of my centers so that my students don't have to guess. They don't have to learn routines all over again. Because that's really tricky, especially for the little ones, 5, 6, 7 years old. You know, they're already adjusting to sounds and to new people and the distractions of the classroom, and so it's really hard for them when you're trying to introduce all of these new games. Okay, on this game we do this, on this game we do that. And so for me, I enjoy creating consistent activities for my students to work on. And so my absolute favorite center activity that I use in my classroom is my Puzzler sight word activity. I've been using it for about 5 years in my first grade classroom. My students love it. They're successful. I'm able to differentiate for my students. So it's really exciting to look around the room when I'm working with groups and I see students feeling successful and feeling successful independently. That is huge. If your kids are feeling successful independently, it's like the best day ever. Okay, so I wanted to share with you what Puzzler is, how I use it, but first I wanted to share with you my magnetic letter boards and templates. And so it drove me crazy. Every time I would meet with guided reading groups, we work on words, and I would have to sit and pull those words for 5 kids. So if you're using 3 sight words in your groups and you needed 5 sets, and then in addition to that, you have students that are out in the classroom on the floor playing with magnetic letters. They're digging through a box of magnetic letters. They're, dumping them out everywhere, and it's taking them 15 minutes to find 2 letters. And so that made me crazy because they were spending more time searching for letters than they were actually participating in the activities that I'd created, which was super frustrating for me. And so a little light bulb went off, and I was like, I wonder, I can write the letters in marker, but that wipes off after time, and I want something where they can really identify, use the letters quickly, and return them quickly. And so that's when this came about. And I made this magnetic letter return sheet, and it has changed my world, y'all. Like, I can't say enough about this magnetic letter return board. It started off, I use the literacy letters from Really Good Stuff and from Lakeshore Learning, and my principal was so kind as to buy me magnetic letter boards. And so the magnetic letter boards that I originally got were from Steps to Literacy. I have a blog post on my blog that goes into detail about these letters, where you can find the letters, and I've been playing with them all day, so they're kind of out of order. Sorry about that. And so these letters are from Lakeshore Learning. They come in the giant green pack that everybody loves, but they're like $50, and that's quite an investment. And then the boards are also around $30, $40 plus shipping, which can get really expensive on a teacher budget, especially if you don't have somebody supporting that. And so I wanted to make it easier for teachers, especially those teachers that are using Donors Choose, and Donors Choose works with Amazon. And so I was really excited about that, and so I started looking for alternatives. And so I created this magnetic letter return sheet, and I doubled up most of the vowels and some of the consonants that we use more often. And so the students are very easily able to see where they need to go, how to return them. Super, super easy. And then I looked and researched for all of you guys to find stuff on Amazon, especially for those of you that use Donors Choose, because Donors Choose is such a huge force in our teacher community, and it's so wonderful that we have that to reach out to get those free materials and get those sponsored classrooms. And so I found these boards on Amazon. Now these boards are around $6.99 a piece, and there are two sizes. One is like an 11 by 14 page. Board. It's humongous. You probably don't want that one for your classroom. Maybe for your centers out on the floor, and that's fine. But I found that with the 11 by 14 size, I started running into problems with storing them because they're so big, and most of those magnetic, those drawers, or most of your mail sorters are 8.5 by 10, and so you're thinking, oh my gosh, it's not going to fit in here. And so you really do need to start looking for things that are going to fit in that 8.5 by 10, and so that solved this problem. But what I ran into was that my papers were scaled for 8.5 by 10 sheets of paper, and so I had students, or I had boards and papers that didn't match, and so it was too big. So I have put in the directions that if you do buy one of these 8.5 by 10 boards, if you just scale back your printing to 88% or 87%, sometimes even 90%, it just depends on the board that you buy, the letters still fit perfectly. As you can see, the A is there, it still fits perfectly. It does make the letters get a little tighter together, but it's not unmanageable. Remember, your 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds, their hands are a lot smaller than ours, so they are able to do it just fine. I've never had any kids have any trouble with these. They are very good quality. They do have dry erase on the other side. I don't recommend using the dry erase on the other side because then you're adding more weight on the top and it's going to make those letters pop off. I've been asked a lot of questions about how I adhere the papers to the boards and also about the lamination in order to make it more sturdy and to last longer. At home, when I'm working with my son, I don't laminate the boards. There's no reason. I'll print another one. HP Instant Ink, get on that train. If you don't have HP Instant Ink, I suggest that you do, but that's a whole nother post. But what I do is when you laminate them, you don't want to use your really good lamination sheets, like your 5 mil or your 3 mil lamination sheets, because it makes them too thick. So once you laminate and then you put them down, that's a lot thicker. And a lot of these magnetic letters, they're not meant to hold up through plastic. And so you're going to run into some trouble with that. And so if you just laminate them with the school's lamination, that's probably about 1 mil, you're going to see such a better adherence, if that's a word. You're going to see them stick a lot better. Okay, so use the cheapest lamination or don't use any lamination. Worst case scenario, every once in a while you have to reprint a piece of paper. And for me, because of HP Instant Ink, I don't even worry about that. I'm not sponsored by HP Instant Ink. I make no money from them, so this is just my public service announcement. HP Instant Ink is a lifesaver. Okay, so there's this board. I'm always on the hunt for teachers that need instant gratification that don't have Amazon Prime or Amazon Now. Those of you that have Amazon Now, I'm so jealous that you can order something and it arrives in the same day. Super jealous of you guys for that. And so I started looking for alternatives. And so this board is an alternative board. It does not have magnetic or dry erase on the other side. But this board is from Target. And this board was, I think, $5.83 or something like that. It's very thin. It's very lightweight. These are the Target Dollar Spot magnetic letters. So they were $1. And as you can see, they stay on here. Now, I didn't laminate this sheet. Like I said, these are some of the boards that I use at home. But I am very, very confident that once you laminate it with school lamination paper, not your good stuff, don't waste your good stuff, on here, you are going to be able to have those adhere just fine. So this board was $5. It was in the back to school section at Target. Okay. Now, the best one that I found so far and the most bang for your buck has been at Walmart, and that is these magnetic boards, which is really cool because they actually give you magnetic stickies on the back. So you could very easily pop these right on your filing cabinet, and that's how you can store them. So another really easy alternative. Making sure that you're only laminating this with the very cheap lamination sheets, because as they're sitting up here for a while on the plastic, they might start to slide. If I were adhering these to a filing cabinet, I would definitely not laminate the sheet. I would just let it sit like this. This has been sitting up on my board up here for a couple of days now, and it has not slid. So I suggest these as well. These are in the back to school section for Walmart. You can also get them in the office supply section at Walmart as well. They're $2, y'all. $2. Amazing. So excited. The one thing I will say is that the colors, you are not going to find 2 packs that have the same colors. So if you're trying to be all color coordinated, it's not going to happen. I'm going to tell you that right now. I bought like 2 packs and I was like, oh, great, I'm just going to make this template. And I made the color template and I was all excited. And then somebody sent me a picture and was like, yeah, no, Allie, I don't have those colors. And I was like, oh. So then I started to go and look for different ones. I found in just one trip 50 different color schemes. So I created templates that are black and white so that your students, if you can't see that, it's just the plain black and white letters. I made filled in black, gray, pink, blue, yellow, red, orange. I've made all the different colors for these as well. And I've made them for the target letters, both uppercase and lowercase. And then for our younger pre-K babies and kinder babies, I made the uppercase and lowercase right next to one another. That way, if you have kids that are just learning recognition and matching uppercase A to lowercase a, I got you covered. So the student will have that uppercase A, and they'll match it right next to the lowercase a. And I think I printed one of those out for y'all to see. It's going to be messy because I just put it on the back of this one. So the template looks like this, where we start off with that capital A and go to lower A. And so this is going to be for our younger babies so that you can have them just doing letter identification and letter matching. So really good activities for your pre-K and kinder babies. So these are the magnetic letter boards. I use them for my word work in guided reading groups, but I also use them for my work on words centers and also my sight words during guided reading time. It was taking so long for me planning each week to take each and every letter that the kids were going to need for their word work. It was taking so long that I wasn't planning good reading lessons because I was constantly digging for letters and getting the letters for my students. And then I thought to myself, my kids should be recognizing these letters. My kids should be the ones that are manipulating, that are grabbing these letters, that are returning these letters. It's going to make them more quickly know what those letters are, know what they need, so that I'm not doing it. And as soon as I release that responsibility to my students, their independence with word work and with sight word building has exploded. So important. That success that they feel when they can find their letters really quickly and they're looking over and kind of bracing one another silently, it's so exciting and it's so wonderful to see. And my kids have ownership now. And I'm not spending time wasting time looking for letters and getting all of their word work together. So my students in groups use this. My students in their independent center times, they're using it as well. But one of the things that I use it for, and there are 63 different letter templates. So there's different colors, there's different sizes, there's capitals, there's lower. So even if you don't buy your letters from Target or from Really Good Stuff, as long as they're a 1-inch letter, they will fit. Once your letters get to be higher than 1 inch, they're probably not going to fit, because that 1 inch per letter, and we're only going 8.5 by 11, even though it's only 1 inch, you need to have that space in between so they're not all jumbled together, and it's probably not going to fit. Because once they're larger than 1 inch, I'm going to have to put more on one line, which is going to create another row, and then they're not going to fit. Okay, so what I adhere them with are glue dots. If you have never used glue dots, your life will be changed forever. I use glue dots on everything and anything. My teacher toolbox, on my posters. I love these. It's so bright in here you might not be able to see them, but all it is, and I don't know if you all can see this, all it is a tiny little glue dot. Can you all see that? Tiny little glue dot. You lay this plastic piece down over the corner that you want, and then you just rip it up like a Band-Aid, rip it off, and it leaves that little glue dot. And then you just put your paper down and you smooth it out, and it is good to go. My teacher toolbox had these glue dots on for 4 years before I changed the labels at the end of this year. They last forever. Okay. I also found myself not wanting to do word work because of the time it took to prep and clean up. Now my students, they come to the table with their board. They grab it out of their spot, the first group, they set it down, they do their word work, they return the letters where it's supposed to be, and then when they go off into centers for the second time, they leave everything, because guess what? Group number 2, who's going to be my lowest group of kids, they're my lollygaggers. They're the ones that take forever to get to the table. So they're going to make their lesson shorter because they don't want to come there. They don't want to read. They're frustrated. They don't want to deal with it. And so I nip it in the bud by having all of their materials already ready because they're the second group that I meet with. So everything is ready to go. The letters are all ready to go for them, and I don't have to do it. Okay, so my puzzler set is very exciting. I don't know how I'm going to show you guys this, quite honestly, without flipping the camera and holding it here, but I'm going to do my best. So I have created Puzzler, and there are 2 different sizes that you can print Puzzler. So Puzzler can come in its regular printing, so if you just hit print and go, this is the size that it's going to work on. I got these containers from Amazon. They are Iris photo boxes. You can also get them at Michael's. They're called, I think, Recollections Collection, and they're just 4x6 photo boxes. You can use your coupon. You can use a competitor coupon. If you use a 50% off AC More competitor coupon, they'll give it to you, plus your teacher discount, depending on your store. My store loves teachers. They manually put in the discount for you. If you print at 70%, your puzzler will fit in the Dollar Tree 3 for $1 bins. Mind blown. It will waste a little bit more paper because you're shrinking it down, so your white borders are going to be a little larger. But these are about $14 for 16 of them, and you're going to get 3 for $1 with these. So it just depends on which ones you like and what you want to use. The 70% is still the perfect size for your kids. I don't see there being any issue with your students using cards this size or your students using cards printed at regular size. So here's regular size, y'all, and here is the 70% printout. So there is not much difference in the size, and even your kinder kids, these are big enough. There's no problem in the size. So if you'd like to save yourself a little bit of money, and on these containers, 70% printout is the way to go. If you are happy with this size, then you are good to go. Just print them like normal. The way that Puzzler works is that I have created Dolch sight words in pre-primer, which are our lowest friends, our introductory kids to sight words, primer, pre-primer, and first grade, along with second and third grade. So y'all, this is differentiated and goes all the way up through third grade sight words for your Dolch kids. So if you are a Dolch sight word school, these are going to work for you. And the way that I've organized them is that I've organized them by color and number of letters in each word. That way you can differentiate. So if you have a student that you think is only going to be able to handle 2-letter sight words, so, do, go, it, in, you can tell them, okay, baby, I only want you to do this color card. And they can go to each box and they can just do those color words. Now, if you want to use the progression as it goes with pre-primer, primer, first, second, third, you can do that as well. They are also color-coded. So I put one set into each box. So this, for example, an example is Puzzler Set 3. Now, it says Puzzler Set 3 on here, and then what you do is the kids have all of these cards, and they're going to make 2 piles. They're going to make a picture pile and a letters pile. So I'm going to do pictures, letters, and once they have all of those out, it doesn't take long. It's very nice and quick for sorting. My students know not to spend a lot of time doing this. They take their pack back to their seat or back to their spot if you are doing independent centers, if you're doing, unless they're not at the table with you, if they're doing them independently. Or if your students are flexible seating, they can take them back to their spot. Wherever you have them working, you have them take 1 pack. So I've had a lot of questions. Well, do I need to print Puzzler? There are, in the pre-primer, there's 6 sets. Do I need to print 5 sets of 6 since 5 kids go into the Work on Words Center? No, you don't need to do that. You only need to print each set once because each kid, it's going to take 1 box about 20 minutes to complete. And you're going to have other things in your Work on Words Center besides Puzzler, so they can have their independent pick. Whatever they want to choose to do, they can do. I'm going to keep this year all of my word work activities in 1 book. And so they're going to know, these are the Puzzler recording sheets, they're going to know at some point I need to do this. And I'll be checking in on these probably once a week or once every 2 weeks after they're trained. Now, what my students do is they have these two piles. The first thing that they're going to do is not even worry about these words for the first minute. So they're going to pick up their first card with pictures. They're going to grab their adorable little magnetic letter board, and they're going to say, okay, I need to look for the beginning sounds for each of these 4 letters. There is a puzzler sheet that they can look at and say, okay, I'm not really sure which one this is. I'm not sure what this is a picture of, because this could be sleep, this could be nap. And the reason I made it like this is that I want the kids to use the sheet, especially those young babies. I want them to look, and I want them to build that vocabulary that, she has it on the N. What is that? I want them to use it for nap. So they're going to go ahead and grab their N for nap. Then they're going to grab their W for wig. They're going to grab their T for top. So it's building that vocabulary, that initial letter sound, and E for elephant. So once they have all of their letters, they're going to start manipulating, and they're going to move them around, and they're going to try to figure out what those sounds are based off of their little puzzler sheet, or based off the sight word list that you're going to give them. And once they think, oh, okay, I got the word went, then your students are going to start looking through their word pile, and they're going to go, okay, I don't see it here. It's not will. It's not what. It's not soon. Oh, geez, what is it? Oh, there it is. It's went. And so your students will then take that picture. They're going to look at this number. This is number 42 on their sheet. So they're going to grab Puzzler Set 3, number 42, and they're going to write the word went. There's also a checking answer sheet so that they are able to go back and double check and make sure that their answers are correct. Self-checking. So these ones are going to be, this is my 4-letter sight word set, so blue cards are 4 letters. So you're going to have your red is going to be 2, orange is going to be 3, yellow, green, blue are going to be 4, and then your purple pinks are going to be 5 letters and higher. So you're going to be able to differentiate. So no matter what the box is, you're going to say, okay, if you're 2-letter sight words, you're only going to do your red boxes. But you could just go straight in order and say, here's your answer key, just go straight in order. I also created these for the Fry words. So the first Fry 100 is completely up, and it's in my store and it's ready to go, which is a completely different sight word list. It does encompass many of the Dolch words, but the Fry is more of a high frequency word list rather than just sight words. So there are a lot of words that students are able to decode. Where the Dolch word list, those are going to be mostly your words that are just strictly sight words. So there is a difference between the two. And so when your students are at their desks, they don't need to spread. I've had students start, and this is all whole group lesson. All right, friends, let's come to the table. This is how we sort them. We don't need to spread. I've had kids spread out all the words all over the carpet. I'm like, oh gosh, no. No, honey. Here's what we're going to do. We're looking for ones that have just a W. And so they'll go through and they'll just eliminate the W or pull out the W's. Okay, now we're down to 4 cards. Okay, which ones have an E in here as well? Okay, now we're down to 2 cards. Okay, which one can it be? And that's how they figure it out. And so this is going to take modeling for you. But y'all, I made 5 different packs of these. Each one box will take at least 20 minutes. For some kids, it might be 2 sessions for this, okay? They could be doing this pack for pre-primer, primer, first, second, third. They could be doing it the whole year. Some of them might not even get through all of the pre-primer and primer words because those younger babies, those lower babies, they're going to be meeting with you most of the time during center time. So they're not going to get to do those all the time. So your lower babies, it's definitely going to be enough. And your higher babies, that's why that 2nd and 3rd grade's there to differentiate and to customize their learning and to give them a challenge. Okay. Oh my gosh, I teach 1st grade, and this is my absolute go-to for sight word practice in my Work on Word Center. Absolutely appropriate. This is appropriate. I've had many teachers in kindergarten using this, not only for on-level, but even for below-level kids. Some of them only use the puzzler. They don't even care about what the sight word is. They get rid of these, and they just have the kids finding the letters to match. All right, baby, put those down on your guided reading table. What letters do you have? And you're just putting your letters right on top. And your students are doing one-to-one letter identification based on a picture sound card. Easy peasy. kindergarten activity, pre-K activity, check, check. You can do the sight words with your kindergarten babies, no problem. In your second and third grade, absolutely. All of them can stand to use the practice, even if it is a little easier. But I promise you those third grade words are a lot more tricky, because once you start getting up into those 5, 6, 7 letter sight words, it's a little harder than it looks, let me tell you. Okay, so this is absolutely an appropriate grade level for K1, 2. And like I said, if you take out the words, if you take out these word cards and you just use your picture cards, you can just use these as beginning sound practice for your students. Awesome activity. And I just thought of it off the top of my head just now. So anyway, so remember again, you can use 70% printing and have them fit in the Dollar Tree 3 for $1 boxes. Regular printing will fit in those Iris photo boxes. You can also use them in your Ziploc baggies. You don't even need to be fancy. These will fit in a sandwich Ziploc baggie. You do not need to be fancy. Your kids don't care if it's fancy. Fancy's for us. Let's be honest. So these are perfectly acceptable activities. Your kids are going to love them whether or not they're in a Ziploc bag, whether or not you have them in a pencil bag, whether or not you have them in an Iris photo box, a Dollar Tree container. They don't care. They're just excited to play with the letters, okay? So this is something that is going to change your work on words. I promise you. I absolutely promise you. Because once they start with that pre-primer and then they start building, by the time they hit that primer sight word bucket list, they're not asking you for help anymore. And these words are going to be words that you're working with them on in guided reading groups. So these are going to be familiar words. They're going to be excited about doing these words and about quickly filling out these papers. They're going to love it. All right, so I bound this book. This is what I'm using for my students this year. I'm really excited about it. I'm going to be binding all of their word work papers in one space, but I did want to share with you guys where you can go to find Puzzler, okay? So if you go into my store, and I'm going to try to get all of these magnetic letter boards without putting any of the letters over, I have a blog post that talks all about these magnetic letters and things that I use these magnetic letters for. So if you go to my blog and type in the word magnetic, you will find them very quickly. And also, if you go to, and I'm sorry if I'm taking up too much of your time, I apologize. If you type in bit.ly JAPG Puzzler Bundle, it does not take long to train them, let me just tell you. I would say it probably takes me about 2 weeks to train them. So JAPG Puzzler, and I'm putting this up in the comments, Puzzler Bundle. So that Puzzler Bundle, JAPG Puzzler Bundle, is going to take you to the pre-primer, primer, and first grade Dolch Puzzler Bundle. That's where that's going to take you for that. And then once you're in there, there should be a link in the description that's going to take you to that second and third grade Dolch Puzzler. This afternoon, I am going to be bundling all of them up into one bundle that's going to be pre-primer, primer, first, second, and third grade. So all of it will be there for you. And then there's also another puzzler in my store that's kind of like an overall, it just kind of touches on Puzzler. So it has some 2, some 3, some 4, and some 5 word letter sight word practices. And so that one is in my store as well. So there are currently 6 different sight word puzzlers in my store that coordinate with Dolch. Then there is another pack for Fry Friends as well. So if you have any questions about Puzzler, or one magnetic letter down, if you have any questions about Puzzler, or if you have any questions about magnetic letters, please feel free to send me an email. Like I said, you can print the magnetic letters at 88% to put on those smaller 8x10 perfectly sized boards, or you can print them at full size if you have a slightly larger board in the 11x14 size. Sight word center versus, let me see, Miss Lindsay. So if you have the sight word center, I'm going to try to go in here through my custom category, see if my custom category is as quick as I think it is. Okay, so if the Sight Word Center one, so if you have the Dolch bundle, that bundle is a pre-primer, a primer, and a first grade bundle. The one that's just Sight Word Center, that is just a list of sight words. That's just kind of a review. It has some words from each of those pre-primer, primer, and first grade sight words lists. That particular puzzler fits Jan Richardson's Next Step in Guided Reading sight word list. So the sight words that she thinks are the most important for students to know and master, that's what that one is. So if you follow Jan Richardson's plan, those are going to be your first set of sight words that you teach. That's what my school uses, so that's what my students start with. And so I call that Puzzler Set Number 1. So if you buy the bundle and you're like, ooh, it says Puzzler Set 2, 3, 4, that's because the original Puzzler, Puzzler Number 1, is based off of the Jan Richardson Next Step in Guided Reading sight words. And so I didn't want to put that one in there in case that's not a sight word list that you use. If you just strictly use Dolch, that's why it starts with number 2, and I'm sorry for that noise, you guys. So I hope that you guys find this enjoyable. If you do go into my sight word custom category, you're going to see sight word puzzler game, you're going to see a sight word bundle, you're going to see the fry words, and then you're also going to see my fix-it sentences, which go along with the same words, but instead of just manipulating the words, you're manipulating a sentence. And so that's an entirely different live broadcast for you guys. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me at justaprimarygirl@yahoo.com, or you can send me a direct message on Instagram, or you can send me a message on Facebook. I will try my best to get back to you guys. I hope that you have a wonderful start of your school year and that everything goes smoothly and you get those babies in their routines and get them practicing with those sight words. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk with you soon.